dividing by a 2-digit divisor. Don't freak out, it will be fine. Oftentimes, we will have a 2-digit divisor. So far, we've only had 1-digit divisors, which means we use a lot of our times table knowledge to make it easier. However, sometimes we will have a question like this, and I do not know the 32 times table, do you? So what do? Well, there's lots of different tricks and methods, but a lot of them involve estimation. That's why we did the first lesson with estimation. So when you have a question like this, and you know you don't know the 32 times table, sometimes you can use different tricks. One that I like to use is I'll use the first digit of my divisor and the first digit of my dividend to give me an estimate. 3 goes into 7 twice. So on a piece of scrap paper, I will start there and I will say, okay, so 32 times 2, and I'll be doing this on a piece of scrap paper over here, will give me 64. So I'm gonna try that because 64 is close to 75 because I have to use my skill of, 32 does not go into 7. So 32 does go into 75 and I'm gonna try 2 times. So I'm gonna put my 2 over top my 5, same steps, all the same steps. Next step, multiply 2 times 32, which I've already done, which is 64. Now I subtract. I do my check. 11 is less than 32. Now, if this were not less than 32, if it were more than 32, that means I would need to bump my quotient up by 1 and redo my work, which, believe me, I've had to do a lot. So don't worry about it, just do it. Next step, bring down my next number. How many times does 32 go into 111? I don't know. I have no idea. So again, I'm going to estimate. How many times does 3 go into 11? 3 times. So I'm going to, on my scrap paper, do 32 times 3, which gives me 96. Well, that's close to 111, so I'm going to try that. I'm going to put my quotient up here over top of the 1. I'm going to do 3 times 32, which I've already done, which is 96. I subtract. 11 times 6 is 5, 10 is 15, and then I get my remainder. I get what's left. 15 is less than 32. There's nothing left to bring down, so this is in fact my remainder, which I will report as a fraction, unless this is part of a word problem, but it's not, it's just a question. So 23 and 15 over 32 is my quotient. So there's a little bit more work here because we don't know the 32 times table. Now, for those of you that have been doing partial quotients, here's that same example done with partial quotients. And you have a little bit more work here to do as well because your divisor, 32, is not as familiar. So you can see over here I've written my friendly numbers down. 32 times 2 times 5 times 10 is just there to help me get me started, and it does. So here are my partial quotients, which I add up to give me my total quotient. You'll notice once again my quotient is the same as long division. So the only difference really when you have a 2-digit divisor is that you are less familiar with the multiples of that divisor. So you may have to do a little bit of extra work on the side. Estimation will help you with this. So